Sweden launches its first military spy satellite. Sweden launched its first military reconnaissance and surveillance satellite into orbit at 9 a.m. Swedish time, marking the country's operational entry into the space domain and delivering a national capability to detect and analyze threats on a global scale. The satellite lifted off aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California, reaching low Earth orbit, and with it the Swedish Armed Forces crossed a threshold years ahead of their original schedule. The satellite was manufactured by Planet Labs and operates from low Earth orbit, capturing high-resolution imagery that the Swedish military will use to monitor its operational area, including regions that have historically been difficult or impossible to observe. Among those regions is the Arctic, an area of growing strategic significance, where NATO allies have struggled to maintain persistent surveillance coverage. Rear Admiral Anders Sundman, the Swedish Armed Forces space commander, was present at Vandenberg during the launch, and used the visit to meet with U.S. Space Force and U.S. Space Command, underscoring the alliance dimension of Sweden's new capability from the moment it became operational. Sundman described the launch in direct terms in the Swedish Armed Forces official statement. Our expansion in the space domain has proceeded at record pace. We now have a national capability and our own systems in place in space. This gives us a better picture of our operational area, including difficult-to-monitor areas, such as the Arctic, and areas we previously could not monitor. This creates better conditions for Sweden's and NATO's defense capability and contributes to our ability to detect and counter threats at long range, Sundman said. The satellite program has moved from concept to operational reality well ahead of the target date that had previously been set for 2030 per the Swedish Armed Forces announcement. That acceleration was made possible by close collaboration with the Swedish Defence Materiel Administration, which handled procurement, as well as participation from the Swedish Defence Research Agency. The combination of institutional alignment and focused execution compressed a timeline that most comparable national space programs would measure in decades into something considerably shorter, a point the Swedish military made explicitly in framing the launch as a record-pace achievement. Planet Labs, the California-based Earth observation company whose satellite constellation has been used extensively for commercial and government imaging purposes, manufactured the spacecraft. The use of a commercial satellite manufacturer and a commercial launch provider, SpaceX's Falcon 9, which has become the workhorse of Western military and government satellite launches, reflects a procurement approach that prioritizes speed and proven capability over sovereign industrial development. For a country that only recently acceded to NATO and is rapidly building out its defense posture across multiple domains, that approach makes strategic sense. Building a national satellite manufacturing capability from scratch would have pushed the 2030 target further, not closer. The Swedish Air Force's Space Division has begun establishing a Space Operations Center, an operational command hub for the Swedish Armed Forces space capabilities, where the Air Force will produce a space situational awareness picture and manage Sweden's satellite constellation. That center is not simply an administrative addition, it represents the institutional infrastructure required to translate raw satellite imagery into actionable military intelligence and to integrate that intelligence into the broader NATO alliance picture that Sweden is now formally part of as a member state. Sundman made the NATO dimension explicit in the announcement. With access to our own reconnaissance and surveillance satellite, the Swedish Armed Forces increase NATO's operational capability by contributing to the alliance's collective situational awareness and intelligence. Gathering the threat from space in terms of reconnaissance and surveillance is tangible, but by establishing a space situational awareness picture, we gain a better understanding of this threat and how it can be countered, he said.